Yeah, and I
So
would add too the idea that the major networks and like the AP should get the front row. It's just not the way the world is anymore. It's not where most people get their news. Like, I agree with you, Sean. Like, just the fact that these like holier than thou institutions think they are entitled to all of this to
Right.
me is
yeah,
ridiculous.
so they shouldn't be holier than thou, and they shouldn't be liberally biased, and they shouldn't
Yep.
be avowedly anti-Trump. And the dinner should be an actual celebration of the First Amendment. The one thing that I think Ron is onto, which is correct, and if you're a believer in holding powerful interests accountable to the public interest, is these organizations do need to grow a pair and figure out how to be in solidarity, including organizations that are not liberally biased, to hold the White House accountable. There are things that are happening that are not in the public interest, and I think we just need to differentiate between those things that are, like you guys said, they're not entitled to things as an organization or as individual reporters or news organizations, but they have to have some solidarity to keep there from being a diminution of accountability. And one of the things on Ron's list is good. When I covered the White House, I advocated it strongly. If someone's asking a good question, don't bail out the press secretary by jumping in to ask a different question, even if it's also a good question. Stay, let that reporter stay. Now, there's some subjectivity to that. But it's clear when someone's on to something, when the press secretary or the president or someone else is answering, the press has to be in solidarity, not for try to hog the spotlight or take the spotlight, because that only serves to keep there from being answers, which is the point of briefings or press conferences.
But Mark,
That's
I would
one
agree.
example of many. Let
But
me just
that's not
finish.
a
It's
White
one
House
example.
correspondence
I'm
thing,
just
is it?
finished. Well, not officially, but
Right.
it's White House Correspondents Association with all lowercase, or Correspondents Association lowercase. They have to team together, and the bureau chiefs need to come clean. They need to say, "Hey, we covered up with Joe Biden for 4 years. We need to come clean on that. We're hostile to Trump's agenda. We need to fix that." Then they have some standing to say, "We have to be in solidarity for the public interest, not for our own self-aggrandizement." If they don't do that, then there will be a
I just think
diminution in accountability.
that actually goes to the problem. This idea of we're a blob. We have to act together. We have to.
On some institutional things they do.
They refuse to
And
allow
if you
independent
ask
journalists
Jackie,
into their
if you
organization.
of
They
course, I
refuse.
don't agree with
They are
that.
not for
If you ask
this.
but if you ask Jackie Heinrich or other Fox News correspondents, they would agree. There has to be some institutional solidarity that is not about bias and not about exclusion, but is about standing up to the powers of the White House, whether it's a Democratic president or a Republican president. Because if they all hang separately, they will all hang. If they don't hang together, they will all hang separately on some of these institutional issues having to do with accountability, not
Then the first thing they
ingrandizement.
should do is allow anyone who covers the White House to join it. The one thing that they will not give up is their elitist
I
rules
agree.
to ensure, and that's you
I
want. So you
agree.
can't do that. You can't act as a big blob if you're inherently excluding anybody that's not part of your liberal left wing agenda that wants to ensure that the only people who get called on are NBC and AP. That's the problem. It's that they inherently support that. When Karine Jean-Pierre stripped 440 passes from journalists, they said nothing. This idea that they give a crap about the First Amendment is such a fallacy. They care about themselves and their stupid dinner and their Hollywood elite B-list celebrity cameos that they can get for Instagram. That's it. When Brian Karem and Jim Acosta and everyone else stood up and made fools of themselves, you want them to say, okay, let's let that go on? That's insane.